Hi everybody, Jessica here from Paper Ink Stamp and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video we're going to be creating a birthday card and I'm mainly going to be using two different products. So I've got here the Lawn Fawn Reveal Wheel. So this is kind of the starting die set that you need, which has got the actual elements to create it. Of course then you've got lots of add-ons that you can purchase that have come out sort of over the years. I've also then got the Reveal Wheel Friends and Family Sentiments, which has really got some great sentiments in here to be able to build into the reveal wheel, and then we do have the stamps as well that we can sort of stamp into it, so you can sort of change what it says. Then, because I'm going to be making a gnome theme card, this is the Simon Says Stamp Spring Gnomes set, and I think we're going to be using this one here just to create a little scene at the bottom of our panel, and then we can have then our sentiments changing near the top. So you can see here on the back of the packaging sort of how this is going to look. So again, they've got lots and lots of different kinds of add-ons now, but what you have is this wheel section where you can stamp part of your sentiment and you can turn that and it will change what your sentiment reads, and you can build this up in lots of different ways. So within the actual set itself, we do have our panel here. It's got a stitched edge and then it's got this section cut out because then that is where you're going to be able to turn your wheel. So this piece here is going to be what you stamp your extra words onto. And then that has got a scalloped edge so that you can turn that around. We've got just an extra piece which helps the mechanism go. So you can see here we've got almost like a puzzle piece, and included in this sort of beginner die set we have got just a really basic kind of curved shape here, and this just fits in nicely into there. If you have a look at any add-ons, the add-on piece is going to change this piece here. It's going to have the same principle, and what this does is it allows you to sit that in the exact place it needs to be to then have our reveal wheel actually work. The last die you've got then as well is a little arrow, so you can die cut that to see which way you need to turn it, or even just to indicate that it can be turned. So what I'm going to do is die cut these elements from our card. I'm just going to pop my arrow to one side for the moment just so I don't lose that. So to begin with, what I'm going to do is just add a little piece of washi tape just to hold this sort of puzzle piece in place. So just like that. And then I've got some white Ink Me cardstock here. This is then the panel that I'm going to be stamping and colouring onto to build up our scene. So I'm going to just hold this in place again with some washi tape. So for my two wheels here, I'm just going to cut this out of some white cardstock. This is just some scraps that I've had left over. It doesn't matter sort of too much about the quality, I don't believe, to cut out these pieces, because again I'm going to be adding some of our sentiment words onto this and probably doing a little bit of ink blending. But now I've got all of my elements cut out, we can go ahead and actually die cut these. There we have one of our mechanism circles. Then we have our wheel, which our sentiments are going to go onto. Then the actual panel itself. So you can see how easy that just die cut straight from that cardstock. And there's our panel all cut out with then our piece cut from the middle. So I'm going to pop my other pieces to one side and I'm just going to work on my panel here. So I want to build a scene up with our gnomes. So I want to use this big gnome here, and I really love that this is going to fill up a lot of this sort of bottom section. So these aren't unfortunately kind of birthday themed gnomes, but I still really love them and I definitely want to sort of include these. So I'm also going to add in here just some of these mushrooms as well, just to kind of help build up that scene. Maybe we can add the flowers in there as well. And then we do have our butterflies, so we can add some butterflies as well. So I'm going to bring out my stamping platform. I'm going to pop my panel in here first of all. And the first image we are going to stamp is our gnome. So let's just get that nice and straight. And I'm just going to ink this up with some Memento black ink. So we're going to press down to get a good impression, and then there is our super cute gnome. So then what I want to do is sort of bring in, like I said, these other elements. So I'm gonna bring in our flowers here. And the great thing about this is I don't need to create any masks because very little of this is actually gonna overlap. So let's stamp our tulips. Then we're gonna add our mushroom just to the other side. So I am gonna just rotate my panel so I can get this to hang off the edge. So that's just going to go there, and again we're going to stamp this. So I'm going to turn my panel back around, and instead of then using my stamping platform, I'm just going to use an acrylic block, and we're just going to stamp these butterflies. So here is our panel. So we've got all of our stamping done. So now we can go ahead and start colouring these in. So I'm going to be using my alcohol marker. I'm going to use just a combination of all of my tri-blend markers, the few Copic sketch markers I've got, and then those Prism craft markers as well. So here we have our finished coloured in panel. So it really didn't take too long to colour in. I wasn't being kind of too adventurous with what I was doing. It was kind of a lot more on the basic side, but I really love how this scene has come together. So before I start assembling this reveal wheel or sort of doing anything else, what I really want to do is stamp our sentiments onto the front of this, because I'm actually going to be stamping them just directly to our panel. So as I said, this is the friends and family sentiments. And so these curved ones we can add to the reveal wheel inside, but these straight ones I'm literally just going to stamp directly onto my panel. So I'm of course going for a birthday card. So I'm going to go with Hope Your Birthday. Then we're going to have Is Filled With, and then again we can have something going on the inside of our reveal wheel. So I'm going to take out these two sentiments. So I'm going to try and kind of line these up. Okay, so I've got my sentiments lined up nicely, and what I really love about these sentiments here is because they are completely straight, they can just line up next to each other perfectly, and then they're going to have the right amount of spacing. So I've got my three sentiments lined up nicely. I'm going to use my VersaFine Onyx Black ink to stamp these, just so we get a really nice impression. And I'm just really gently going to stamp this down, only because I don't want to sort of spread out the letters by kind of pressing it too hard. I think that has stamped really well, but I am, just to be on the safe side, going to stamp that a second time. So here our sentiment is reading so far, hope your birthday is filled with, and then whatever we pop into this reveal section, and lots of, and I'm going to be creating an extra little sentiment to sort of finish that off. So now the next stage is we need to add our words onto our wheel. So this is going to sit behind this panel here, so you can see you've got your little notch there to be able to actually spin this around, and then you're going to have different words coming in here, but I need to stamp this before then I add some colour to this. So in addition, to really help with this stage, you can buy little stencils, which means then that you're going to stamp your word in sort of perfectly on here. Every time that I've kind of done this, I haven't always done it perfectly, but I'm definitely going to try today. So on the wheel, you do have this kind of etched line all around it, and just a slightly embossed line. And basically, you don't want to be able to see those lines in the parts that you can see. So you just kind of line it up where then you can't see those sections. And what I'm going to do then is I'm just going to add a little touch of washi tape just to kind of hold that in place. So let's just pop a little tape on here, and then I can go ahead and stamp my first word in here. So the first word I'm going to have is going to be cake. So I'm just going to take an acrylic block. I'm going to use my Memento ink again because I do want to add some colour behind this, and I'm just going to stamp this. So let's get our panel nice and straight. Just in the middle there. So I've just rotated it so my cake is at the other end, and I'm going to line this again and really hope that this is going to line up perfectly. So again, let's just tape that down. The next one I am going to stamp is going to be ice cream. So again, I'm going to add that to my acrylic block. I'm going to stamp that just in the middle. So we've got those two kind of roughly opposite each other. So again, I'm just going to kind of turn it so now we can stamp up here. So if you do have any of these reveal wheels, I probably would recommend getting the little stencils that go with this for doing this task, like I said, only because it just makes it so much easier, and it means then that everything is going to line up. So the next one I'm going to add in here is going to be, I'm going to do hugs. So again, the same thing, onto the acrylic block. And we're going to stamp that one. And then if we turn it again, turn it over, let's just move our tape. And then for our next one, we're going to use this one, which is more cake, which I think is brilliant. So let's do this last one just there. So that is all of our words added to this. And there we have our words stamped out on our wheel. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some colour to our panel. And I think I want to do this in kind of a rainbow order. So I've got an assortment of colours here to colour in our rainbow. Let's start off with our red. So I am going to colour right to the edges because you are going to see that edge through our little notch here. So let's start with just a little bit of red. Then we are going to go into orange. So I'm going to try and kind of blend this out as much as we can. Then we're going to go in with our yellow. There we go, so we've got our really colourful background there. So when it's in here, then what you'll be able to do is just turn this, and we're going to get that really lovely kind of just a variation of colours in there. So again, if you did that maybe with inks, like I said, you might get a better blend than what I've got here, but I'm really happy with how that has turned out. So now what we can do is actually assemble our card. So the one additional thing that you will need is a brad, just like this one here, and that's just going to help this obviously to turn. So to assemble this together, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my small piece and I'm going to put that on the reverse of our reveal back. Then I'm going to take the brad. So you really want a small one. This might end up being just a little bit too big. But we're just going to feed it through both of those just like that. And then we have our two kind of prongs at this end. Then we can go ahead and just open that up. So we've got our brad at the bottom, and then we have our opening at the front of this. So what I did separately, so I didn't obviously show this at the beginning, but you do need to die cut another one of these pieces, but you can see that I've not cut out that reveal section. And what I'm going to do is add some foam squares onto our white small circle here. So I'm going to take 3 foam squares on here, just like so. I'm going to take the back ends off of these, and I'm going to line this up. So again, using the sort of etched marks that's in here, I'm going to use those once again, like I did, to kind of line up where I want to stamp my little phrase. I'm going to make sure that you're not able to see that through this section or through this section here. So you can just kind of fiddle with it just a little bit until you've got it where you want it to go, and then just holding really tightly onto that. What we're going to do is then line up our front panel with this back panel. And what we're trying to do is add our reveal wheel onto this backing piece. So you can see then that this should turn just like so. So then you should have a wheel that is going to turn. So what you want to make sure is that you don't get any of those foam squares actually on the brad itself, because then it won't allow it to turn. So there's our reveal wheel sort of in place now, and all we need to do is add then our top panel. So now I'm going to add some foam squares onto my panel here, and I want to use the same sized foam squares. So I'm just going to add my foam squares all the way around this panel. But what you want to make sure is that you don't get these in the way of your reveal wheel being able to spin. So I've taken all of the backs off of my foam squares, and I can now add in my top panel. So I'm going to make sure that I get this lined up perfectly. So there is our reveal wheel panel. So our sentiment is going to read, hope your birthday is filled with ice cream, hugs, cake, and more cake. And then it's going to carry on and lots of, so we definitely need to add another little piece to our sentiments. And I just really love how you've got all of those rainbow colours in the background. Like I said, again, you could use your inks to get a smoother blend, but I'm actually quite happy with how this has turned out. So now we need to just sort of create our card base to attach our panel onto. So here I've got a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card, which you can see these panels fit really, really perfectly onto, but I definitely want to add just a simple matte layer behind there. So what I do have here is one of Lawn Fawn 6x6 inch paper packs. This is the Really Rainbow set, and I really love these. I think these are going to go sort of perfectly with our cards here. And I actually think I'm just going to go with this top piece here. I think this is really beautiful. I think it's going to go with it really nicely. So if we just pop that on top, it's just going to add a bit of interest to our background. So I'm trimming this to 4 by 5 1/4. And that is just going to matte and layer really beautifully behind our panel. So I'm actually going to add this piece flat to my card. So I'm going to take my tape runner. And I'm going to add some adhesive to the back of this piece. And again then, because we've already got quite a bit of dimension, again I'm just going to add this flat to our card. And as I said before, we've still got this last piece to die cut. So this is our arrow. So I'm going to cut that from some black cardstock. So I've added some adhesive to my little arrow here, and I am just going to pop that into place just there. So then the recipient knows which way to do this. So we've got hugs, ice cream, more cake. So what I want is it to start on cake here. So hope your birthday is filled with cake, hugs, ice cream, and more cake. So the last thing we've got to do is just add this extra sentiment that I want to add. So what I've done is I've taken one of these reverse sentiments strips from Simon Says Stamp. I can't remember what these are actually called, but so this is the gnome one. But what I want it to read is, hope your birthday is filled with more cake and lots of gnomes. Unfortunately, they don't actually have a plural for gnomes. They've just got gnome. So I'm going to have to make one, and hopefully it's not going to kind of look weird. So the sentiment I'm going to cut out is this gnome saying. So I'm going to use the S from this word here, and I'm just going to hopefully add it to the gnome. So I'm just first of all going to cut this whole strip out. Hopefully that is going to be nice and even. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off the end of that there. And then I'm going to cut right up to our E. So then I have our S there. Let's just trim down the front of that piece. And what I'm hoping to do is literally just kind of add those two together. And again, I'm hoping that you're not going to notice. So what I'm going to do before attaching these two together, so these have got a white core. These are just printed from like a laser printer. So you can kind of foil these and things, but once you cut them, you do have that white border. So what I'm going to do is take a black alcohol marker, and I'm just kind of going to go around the edge, just to make it look like we're using full black cardstock. And then I'm going to do the same for our S here. Just like that. So I don't need to worry about the other side because you're not going to see that. I'm going to add some adhesive right to the end of our gnome. And then I'm simply just gonna stick that there. So there we have the word gnomes. So again, hopefully no one will notice. So let's bring our card back. So I'm just going to add some thinner foam squares to this piece just to help this sort of stand out. So let's add just a few of these. So let's just line up our card. So there we have our finished reveal wheel. So our full sort of sentiment here reads, "Hope your birthday is filled with ice cream and lots of gnomes." So I just think that is super cute. Of course, then you can keep changing this word in the middle to be whatever it is that you want to be. So that is our card finished for today's video. So I hope you've enjoyed looking at this Lawn Fawn Reveal Wheel. So this is, like I said, been out for a little while now. There's lots of different add-ons that you can purchase, but you don't always have to have all of the add-ons. You can just use stamps and sentiments that you already have in your stash, like I have here, and really customize it to the person that you are giving it to. So that is going to be it for today's video. If you did like this video and this card, please give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment down below. If you haven't subscribed to my channel already, please do so you don't miss out on any future videos. So that's it for today. Thanks very much for watching and happy crafting.